Good evening, everybody.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sims. Councilmember Pataglia is absent. Mayor LaBrus.
Here.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, said sec. Notice having been published according to law, with a copy on file in the city clerk's office and a copy posted on the bulletin board in City Hall.
Okay, would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, boy. All right. And with that, I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and invited guests. It is November 21st, the Committee of the Whole agenda. First on the list is the discussion of the ordinance amendment for parking restriction changes. The Traffic Bureau of the Hackensack Police Department wants to make some changes which would improve parking and conditions. And basically, the recommendation came from the Traffic Bureau to cover from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., which would allow for 2-hour parking without a sticker for residents so they can continue to park at any time. The current statute says no parking which does not properly display a valid resident-only parking sticker shall be permitted to park on the following streets between the hours of 2 and 6 a.m. And they are Hamilton, let me just read from the resolution. The following streets and park streets are designated for residential only parking areas during the hours indicated. No vehicle which does not properly display a valid resident only parking sticker shall be permitted to park on the following streets between the hours of 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Hamilton Place between Summit Ave and the border of the borough of Maywood. West Anderson Street between Summit Ave and the border of the borough of Maywood. Burn Street between Passaic Street and the intersection of West Lookout Avenue. West Lookout Avenue from Burn Street to the border of Maywood. Between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m., no vehicle that does not properly display a valid resident-only parking sticker shall be permitted to park in excess of 2 hours on the above-named streets. Any questions of the council?
How come it's only going that way to Maywood? Why is it not going the other way?
Parking, people are parking there to use the bus. In other words, there's a bus stop on the corner of Burn and.
Yeah, but I understand what he's saying. If,
People going the other way to catch the train to go to New York.
no, well, they're not walking from there.
On Hamilton Place, where Miss Geddes lives, they park all on that street by Anderson Street and walk by the liquor store to catch that train.
Well, that should be addressed
That's a
then too.
separate
But
problem. I mean, this
It's the
one,
same thing. They're catching the train.
right, but I'm saying these folks had petitioned for this. I guess there hasn't been complaints about the area.
And
you
this was the
described. These folks complained about this, that's why it's being instituted,
this is Hamilton down by,
by where we live.
On the other side, Miss Geddes complained about that too.
So I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor. So your issue is that people that park on Hamilton,
Anderson Street, they catch that commuter train.
down by Clarendon,
By Linden, all the way
and
down.
Linden, down that way.
And they leave their car there, they catch the train going to New York.
okay. This arose out of a petition of the residents down there, and this was the solution that the Hackensack Traffic Bureau has provided. I will check on this and find out.
But we gotta do the whole street then.
Well, so far, this is the only part in the resolution, unless we amend it. My suggestion is we'll put this in place and then follow up.
I'd rather amend it and do it all one time.
So then
Yeah,
you
but
want-
Anderson's not even in here. And you don't need to do Anderson the full length. I mean,
I mean, we can certainly pass this tonight, do the research from the police and get the stickers, because you have to give residential stickers, it's not, this has already happened. They already have the stickers, so it can't be overnight. Now they're just asking to change it, so it
Right.
can't also be during the day because of the parking to go into the city.
But I don't think you need to do Anderson and Hamilton north of Prospect up to Summit. I don't think they're
it's
parking
going-
that far
it's
up.
going
So I
to-
wouldn't do the whole block,
You
because
don't
that
wanna
would
do the whole
stop
block.
anybody from parking there.
But it's going this way, I'm just talking.
So I would do from like maybe Clarendon
Down
down towards the train, towards Linden.
to towards Linden.
We can do Hamilton to Linden.
Right, but I think what Ted's trying to say is, let's do this one tonight, let's get the traffic division to do the,
It's more people catching that train than catching those two buses over there by.
I don't disagree.
we don't disagree, Dave, we're just
I don't
saying
disagree
that
at all.
rather than hold this up, let's do this one, because the work's already been
All the
done.
people
then the
that are
next
waiting
time-
for
Start on
this
the other one.
response are not gonna be held up, because now they're gonna stop to do that research.
You know,
and
this is the
provide.
first time I'm even hearing about people petitioning over there on that side of Hamilton. I never heard not one person say anything about that.
But there's a lot of cars parked there.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of cars.
I
but
pass
this
it
is
every
the
morning.
First time I'm hearing, there's more cars parked catching that train than.
And we,
going
and we should
separate.
address that, but I think we should move forward and then next meeting, pass another one. Because you couldn't readapt this one, because you'd have to do traffic studies on the other one. So we gotta, between now and the next meeting, they can do another traffic
Look
study
into
down
the,
there.
look into the second
And then
part.
at the next meeting, we pass it
I'll speak to,
in December. Which is pretty close, actually. The first meeting is what, December?
Yeah, I think it's like 2 weeks from now.
December
November
5th.
5th.
I think they could do it, all
I'll,
Figure it by then.
I'll make the inquiry and we'll go from there.
right.
Number 2, discussion is the ordinance amendment to the accumulated sick leave payout. This is an issue that the city is, and many communities are starting to proceed on. At present, new hires represented by the collective bargaining units are entitled upon retirement to be paid 75% of their accumulated sick days, not to exceed 50% of their final salary, and capped at a maximum of $15,000. What this is providing or considering is we would like to change the ordinance effective January 1st, 2018, to eliminate payments completely for accumulated sick days for all newly hired non-contractual employees. Meaning that all new hires from January 1st, 2018 on would not receive any compensation at the end of their 25 years or whatever time they take their retirement because of the cost of this. Because our health costs keep going up, and right now, you know, these buyouts, you folks approve them, become very, very costly to the city.
Plus, this was a best practice checklist question, so the state is,
That-
the
that
state
might-
could do this as well.
My next piece of this is that the state provides a best list checklist for cities, best practice is the, I guess, the proper term on this checklist. And they are basically indicating that for us to continue to receive our funding for grants and consideration, that we have to be compliant to the best checklist. And this is one of those principles. So as society changes and as our costs change, we need to follow that procedure. So I make this recommendation on behalf of the city for the purpose specified for the best practice checklist and also for the ability to operate, because as long as we remain under this 2% cap, it's gonna be tough going forward because our costs just keep increasing and there's no additional revenue to add to the budget.
Just for the sake of everybody watching or listening out there, could you define non-contractuals, please?
Non-contractuals are all of basically city hall employees that are not covered by contract, meaning Department of Public Works, Police Department, Fire Department, they're contractual employees. The employees and clerical staff and the rest of us are not covered by contracts. Number 3 is the fire prevention fees. This really doesn't need much of an explanation. Every year, we attempt to cover our operational costs and to make sure that we stay within the scope and guidelines of the state. These fees increase, and as they increase, the city also increases to make sure that we cover ourselves operationally. So, under Chapter 88, Section 5C, the Code of City of Hackensack, is deleted and replaced with the now non-life hazard use, which specifies new concerns and obviously a increase in the fees and also of how that protocol is followed. Number 4 is the Street Smart campaign. This campaign is basically one of the things that Councilman Battaglia has been talking about, is that now that the laws have changed and pedestrians have the right of way as long as they're in the crosswalk, people start to forget and they think, well, I'm within my rights, I'm just going to walk across the street and that car is going to stop for me. I personally have some real serious issues with that new law because I think it puts people in jeopardy. So after the October 25th kickoff event, a positive enforcement includes education and handing out warnings and giving safety tips to pedestrians, especially school children. Temporary signs were posted in the area, and over 25 hours were logged on Prospect and Thompson, handing out literature and education to the public. McGruff the crime dog was also spotted crossing the street in the area a few times. I don't know where McGruff is now, but I'm sure that he didn't have his hand volunteered to do that again. Literature was also given out to numerous locations in the area of Hackensack Hospital, Starbucks, Johnson Public Library, and different restaurants in the immediate area. So what these programs are trying to do is to re-educate the public, make people aware that we want you to be safe. Obviously, we want you to pass or cross the street in the crosswalk following the instructions or the signage that's being provided.
Ed, I did have a question on that. There's two, when you read the campaign literature for this, there's two different sets of fines that could be imposed. You know, one is for the person that does not stop when someone is crossing in the crosswalk, and the other is for the pedestrian.
$54 fine
Right,
for
the
jaywalking.
pedestrian that jaywalks. Are we participating and are we going to enforce these types of fines here within the city of Hackensack? Because I think that's important for the public to also realizing that there's going to be a jaywalking fine and there's going to be a fine for not stopping for pedestrians crossing within the crosswalk.
I have not had a private conversation with Captain Aquillo, but obviously this new program, obviously for it to grow teeth, is to have a component of education and enforcement. They teach you when you go to the police academy, there's the 3 E's of traffic: engineering, enforcement, and education. So all of these components need to be in place, but I will follow up with Captain Aquillo and make sure that we are proceeding as planned and specified in this program. Number 5 is the corrective action plan. This is a Jim Magan, Ted Ehrenberg issue. Every year when we have an audit, there is a corrective action plan that has to be filed, a 60-day window. And basically this corrective plan basically is submitted to the local finance board. This report's due within 60 days of the date of the audit is received by the municipality. So every year we have an outside auditing firm that comes in, audits our books, and basically resets the starting mark for us for our next year. So we've received our audit. We have 60 days to file a report. Once that's in place, they make recommendations for us. The city has not taken the appropriate steps to resolve prior year's findings. So in those findings must be implemented. Number 2 was outside police employment payments being processed in accordance with all applicable requirements. Number 4 was all fees charged by the city outlined in the ordinance. So basically the ordinance has to marry those and they have to be in sync. They can't be out of adjustment. Implement controls in accordance with NJAC 5:3-17 regarding electronic disbursement controls of payroll and purposes. Number 8, discontinue the practice of paying overtime and stipends in lieu of overtime to department heads because they're exempt employees, that we're, basically tidying up our housekeeping and making sure that the city of Hackensack is compliant with these. So,
And I believe, Ted, we're going to have that corrective action plan ready for the next meeting. So we
Yes, ma'am.
meet the 60-day criteria as part of the finance committee discussion. I
Right.
believe meets the 60-day window, because that's also something that we will be
Right.
held liable for if we don't.
Correct. So, next, after the correction action plan is the request of the Republic of Ghana for a sister city request for the city of Hackensack to become a sister city with Ghana. Now, we already have a sister city in Germany. Now, rumor has it you can have more than one sister, rumor has it. But I don't know if that's what the council wants to do or not. And it doesn't have to be, in my opinion, decided tonight, but it's something to consider. I guess they're looking to exchange, and this comes from Fairleigh Dickinson University, that basically has exchange students and people, so there is that open dialogue and communications. But I would be allowed to say that I'm well versed on what happens when you open this door and what the requirements would be, but, I'll follow the lead or direction of the mayor and council on how they would
I
like to
think that's,
proceed.
the first step is like, what would their expectation be of us? And what are we required to do? And as long as it's reasonable, and why not look into it? But I think we need to
Gotta
understand what
find
it
out what-
is. Yeah,
what it involves.
right.
One second. Okay. Number 7 is the resolution by NJDOT speed limits on Polyfly and South Summit Avenue. This was basically another one of these complaints that was forwarded to us. So there's a resolution establishing speed limits by the New Jersey Department of Transportation along Polyfly Road and South Summit Avenue. This is basically for the city council to approve the concurs with New Jersey DOT recommendations to establish speed limits on Polyfly Road or County Route 55 and South Summit Avenue of County Route 57 as follows. Polyfly Road from both directions of traffic, 35 mile an hour between Hasbrook Heights Borough, the city, Hackensack City corporate line to the point of 715 feet in the northerly direction to the northerly curb line of westbound exit ramp I-80. Also identifying the ramp P in the jurisdiction agreement dated April 6, 1972 between the state of New Jersey and the county of Bergen. South Summit Avenue, County Route 57, 40 mile an hour between the southerly curb line of southbound exit ramp from Route New Jersey 17 southbound to Summit Avenue, identified the ramp N at a point approximately 1,700 feet north of the northbound entrance ramp to Route New Jersey 17 from southbound Summit Avenue, identified ramp H. Jurisdiction agreement between April 6, 1972 between New Jersey and the county of Bergen. So basically, we're going to get some new speed limits. They're going to be approved by the state that would become now enforceable for the police department.
So they're gonna be able to go faster or
No,
slower?
no, if I may, because I asked to look into this, those are the current limits right now,
Right.
35 and 40, it's just that there's no signage there.
Okay.
So what we need to
It's
do,
to add the signage, basically.
Debbie looked into this for us. All that's required is that we put the signs there, 35 and 40, but that's what the current speed limit is there right now, so there's no change. Yeah,
It's just the exit ramps though, and the entrance ramps. from what I'm-
Yep, 750 feet, they
Right.
give the
right.
angle
So
times the
they want
dangle
Noting that, so
coordinates of it.
people know that that's what it is.
You got that's all right.
No,
No, from the
just
state.
gotta,
No, once we do the resolution, I send the resolution to the state. The state, then says, okay, fine, sends us back some notification and then adds the signage. Because it says, once the office is in receipt of the certified adopted resolution of concurrence from the Hackensack City governing body, a TRO will be promulgated, at which point any necessary additional signage will be installed.
Let me just get this straight. From Route 80, they can go 35 miles an hour. When they get by that gas station, what's the speed limit? What they gotta slow down to?
whatever the streets,
What's ever
There.
posted.
There's nothing posted there.
They are gonna post signage.
They're going to from Hasbrook Heights, to Hasbrook Heights, right, or from Hasbrook Heights? Hasbrook Heights speed limit, once you hit the border, 25 miles an hour.
I'm saying coming this way, but somebody just got hit over there, and there's no sign up there saying it's 25 miles an hour. Because if they're doing 35 coming this way, they're gonna continue to go 35 miles an hour.
Well, it's 715 feet in northerly direction, so 715 feet from the Hackensack Hasbrook Heights border, the speed limit would be 35 miles an hour. And then it would turn over to whatever the local speed limit is.
But there's no sign there saying that.
There's none from
No.
all
It's
the
almost-
way from 17 down?
It's almost like a speed trap. Like if you go from 35, going past the Stony Hill Inn
Mm-hmm.
to 25, there's no sign there. They're gonna keep going 35 miles an hour.
Is that a county road there?
Is it 25, do we know?
It's 35,
Is it 35, the whole Powerfly Road is what I'm asking?
but it doesn't say. It says 30. Only sign that's on there is 35 miles an hour. It doesn't say 25.
You're not gonna get 25 in that zone, because it's,
No, I'm talking about past that Stony. They're gonna fly. That's where that person got killed on that corner there, by that gas station,
Well, there's Lodi and
and riding right past Powerfly.
On Lodi
The
Street, the
splash
corner
bar.
there.
Yeah, but they're,
But that's riding past that splash park. There's no sign saying what the speed limit is. People are flying coming down that street.
well, have the PD check the signs.
I think maybe, like they said, why don't we make a note to check what the enforceable speed is, and
Right.
if it is a change, then it needs to be posted.
Great. Okay,
When you checked, Deb, we only checked that spot, right? You didn't
Well-
check further on?
yeah, I didn't go any further. I just know that once you hit the border of Hasbrook Heights, Powerfly Road turns into Terrace Avenue, and it's 25 miles an hour.
But what about coming towards us, like going back towards Essex Street?
I thought that Powerfly Road was 35,
I think it is.
I think it is too. I
Right.
think it's
which means it's 35 from the border
all the way over.
all the way.
You're driving 35 from that border to Essex Street where the Arena Diner is. That's way too fast on that street.
But that's, I
That
mean, that's been the speed limit, and like I
Is
said,
that a
this is
county
just for
road?
signs.
yep,
Yeah, it's county road.
So I guess we'd have to talk to the county about it.
okay.
And enforcement's, you could make it 15 if it's not enforced.
Right.
It doesn't matter, right?
Next is the CDBG Road Resurfacing Grant. Through the efforts of our grant writer, Pete Blanos, we've applied for the CDBG grant application and submitted, and the city was awarded $450,000 for road resurfacing, which I think is a great thing to the city.
Absolutely.
That's certainly a great shot in the arm. So we need an approving resolution, which is attached, and you folks have a copy of it. And as long as it's approved, we will,
Did we receive it, or are we just applying for it?
oh, we're receiving it.
We're
He
receiving it
applied.
already, okay.
That's for
Great,
2018.
great.
Yes, sir. Yep. So we should be in good shape, and I like, all the assistance we can get for road resurfacing. And the last thing that I'm gonna add is a new number 9, which establishes an E-board for the HPAC. I had a meeting today with Jerry and Eddie Decker and this gentleman who submitted a proposal to help us establish a board of governance for our Cultural Arts Center. I don't have personally any skill in that. I've established a few boards along my way here, but I think that I made a call out to Upper Maine. I don't have a decision yet, so there won't be any more discussion about this tonight. I'll get some more information at the next meeting. I hope to supply you folks and obviously have some assistance in coming up with a board of governance, a committee for them under a 501c to raise funds to help us fund our Cultural Arts Center going forward, and to make sure that we continue to certainly come close to the goal of self-funding. I don't know if that's easily done.
Who's paying them?
Who's paying what people say?
That board that you're talking about.
Most of them are volunteer.
the board will be volunteers, the problem would be the consultant that established that board. So that's what we're discussing, whether we want to go forward with the agreement that this particular individual would help us establish that board. Because that would be a working board, basically very involved in fundraising, et cetera, to support the cultural.
Who's gonna pay that?
That's what I think Ted said he needs to talk to the Alliance about, see if we could come up with maybe a joint agreement between us and them.
Because of the.
It's like, I think that he's proposing like a 6-month timeframe
Yeah,
to get it done,
yeah,
right?
this isn't a permanent, but
This would just
I-
be a short term. He would, I met with this man also at one point. He would, it's a multi-step process. He would help define who has to be on the board, help procure the folks to be on the board, solicit them, train them, educate them so that they knew what the functions are to make this thing work properly, what their roles would be. And basically, when he's done, we'd have a board that's been trained, educated, and ready to hit the ground running to support that.
So the board that we have, we disassemble it.
Yes.
because currently, I don't think we have any staff presently that have enough background in this to basically provide direction to establish this. Secondly, I don't have the physical time to become involved.
And some of those board members may wind up being on this board. That's the decision that this individual will help us make. But there has to be also a different type of folks on this board that are actively helping with raising funds, et cetera, to support this.
You look at all the major PACs, the performing arts centers in the area, they all have an executive board, which the key is they put people on there who can get things done, can get the financing, get the donations from people. They have the connections throughout the different communities in the area where they can bring in necessary funding to support this. That's really, for me, the biggest part of this.
Right, because especially with the marquee events, you know, we'll have some return on the ticket sales, but also if we get sponsorship of those events, which we did for the first one, right, we had the,
Yeah.
Right.
and that helps defray that cost as well. So that would be a big part of that function.
What about the people that's working in now?
Well, this person would help us decide what types of individuals should comprise this board, and those folks, if they meet
I
that
think he's
criteria,
talking
can
about
apply.
the people in cultural arts.
That's
the
what, yeah,
department.
oh, the cultural arts department?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's totally different. The cultural arts department is,
They're not
this is totally separate. This would be a replacement for the cultural arts board that we have as stands. It would be reorganizing it into something that is basically has way more responsibilities than our current board has, let's put it that way.
But I do.
But Greg and company, the cultural arts department, still function as entities as they always have.
But I do get a sense that this would outline, job requirements, activities, how we can develop this. Because I said, unfortunately, I don't have a background in this, and I can't really have the time to sort all this out. Like I
Because
said,
it's not just fundraising, it's alternate uses, like these
Oh,
folks are
absolutely.
familiar with this, like where businesses might wanna, come in and use it during the day for presentations, like they have those type of relationships where they can help us, have this be more productive, and as Ted said, we've never done anything like this before.
Basically what it does, they have the knowledge so that this building we can get the most bang for the buck out of this building that we just spent quite a bit of money on. So we don't want to see this place sitting empty. We want to see it well-managed, well-run,
It's very important.
and well-financed.
Although while we're talking about it, I think it's worth mentioning that we had a wonderful opening weekend, really, right? Saturday and Sunday.
We did.
Both very, very, Saturday sold out, wonderful performance, and John, you were there Sunday?
Sunday was, there were a few empty seats, but it was pretty much.
Yeah, there was
crowded.
175 in attendance on
Yeah.
the Sunday matinee, so.
Great.
To the credit of all the people that worked hard, and there were a lot of them,
Yep.
it really became a wonderful thing and a great start, but obviously, we need to maintain this, and we certainly
That's
need
right.
to start on the right foot, so we don't make any mistakes. We have a plan in place, and we move forward towards that goal and success.
But just to have something of this magnitude we've never been involved in before, with a brand-new building, with everything new, lights, sound systems, have everything go as smoothly as it did, kudos to everyone in the city that worked hard on this, and the Alliance, and everybody who pitched in and really, really made it a huge success. So I think we should all be very pleased with what happened that night.
I thought the
Great.
theater performed well, and the performers performed well, so it was good.
Yeah, it was great.
So this would complete the city manager's report.
All right, just want to take note, for the record, that Councilman Pataglia has arrived, and City Attorney Steve Kleiman has arrived.
Sorry, I was.
Yeah, I think we
almost
both hit the same insane traffic trying to get here, so our apologies.
If there's any questions, by the way, on anything on the earlier part of the agenda that were left for me, I'm
No, I
happy
think we're
to
good.
take them.
Need a motion to go to public session? For
Offer.
public? Need a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anybody from the public who would like to speak, please come forward and give your name and address to the clerk. You have 3 minutes.
Regina DePasto, Parker Avenue. On the Smart Street campaign, I have an issue with crossing guards. Maybe you can re-educate them. I did speak to the police department, nobody got back to me. But especially one at the corner of Passaic and Summit, where there's a left turn arrow to turn green. She crosses people across Summit Avenue when there's a green left turn arrow. She did it right in front of me, and when I objected, she almost hit my car with her sign. Okay, but that's not the only spot. It happens all over. So I said, I see her do it again. I'm gonna give her a jaywalking ticket. With this DOT thing, can I tell you it's a joke to even think about 35 miles per hour heading into Hasbrook Heights? Because if anybody would redo that ramp where there are 2 lanes turning left that have to get into 1 lane because the left lane becomes a left turn only lane, and if anybody can ever do 35 miles per hour under that overpass, and that's the only part they're really talking about, is from Hasbrook Heights to under the overpass in Hackensack. It's impossible to do. Yes, once when you're coming north, people do speed up Polyfly Road. But the other one is just over the Route 17 bridge, which I wouldn't support it. Even if it is 40 now, I wouldn't support it because that's where, and I live right in between both of these streets, so I know. People jump over into the right lane because the left lane becomes people turning left onto 17. And if you've got people going 40 miles an hour there, you're gonna have more. I thought there had been a sign there, maybe it was just when there was construction, that it was 25 there. There had been, maybe only when they were doing construction.
I thought it was just on the ramps for that. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, that's just over the bridge. No, it's over the bridge. It's from ramp to ramp, I believe.
And I was reading
It's
it wrong.
Summit Ave from ramp to ramp. It's not on the ramp. There's no way you can do 40 on a ramp. It's on Summit Avenue from ramp to ramp, over that bridge.
There's no way that you can do 40 there.
Yeah, I wouldn't support it. I really wouldn't. And like I said, on
25
Polyfly,
tops.
that's a joke. I don't know that I've
30 tops.
ever come down there that's why there's don't block on Mary Street. The only way you can get in and out of Mary Street if cars don't block it. It's backed up to Lodi Street, going into the Hasbrook Heights. The other thing, I am extremely disappointed that you are considering disbanding the Volunteer Citizen Cultural Arts Board in favor of people from Upper Main Alliance and from outside the city, and these people have put they love it. They do it because they love it, and now you're going to get people that are not residents, most of them. Jerry and Eddie are not residents, to decide what happens there.
Next.
Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
First of all, my name's Eddie Ganesh, and I live at 130 Overlook Avenue, near the hospital. I mean, I'm going to bring this up to this meeting and the other because I'm not sure which one's more appropriate. The first concern I have is that I'm actually an advocate, and I've lived in Hackensack since '94, of disabled parking. And one of the concerns I truly have is that I have a parking spot designated for me, which I'm very grateful for. The only problem being that because I live near the hospital, I've only been able to use it twice, and that's literally twice since it's been put up there. And the reason being that under Hackensack ordinances, it's not specific to the vehicle. Now, other areas like Clifton and Patterson, do specify a plate that is made for that spot for the handicap parking. And I really think that's a big, big flaw within the system, because basically, you know, for the record, New Jersey has 6.5 million vehicles and 600,000 handicap parking privileges.
10%.
Which is absurd, to say the least. I need that spot there so I can park my van, which is a special van, which has a ramp to the side, so I can get out of my chair into my home. And the reason why I need that, and I have ability downstairs, is I don't want to be dependent on other people to carry my groceries. And I want to have the independence, and really, to be honest with you, under the ADA, it is meant to help disabled people like me to integrate into society and not to be sort of segregated. And this is a great help for people like me, but I really would like, I'm not sure what the protocol is, to see if there's a possibility in changing the ordinance. Now, the second thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to definitely do this in the second meeting as well, is I want for the record in both meetings, I'm a bit confused as to which is which, that the Hackensack Police Traffic Division is magnificent. I mean, it's purely the best, as the song goes. Whenever there's an issue, I call up, and the response time and the adherence to Title 39 is extremely outstanding. I mean, I don't think there's any word that I can really express. Now, and I really do think, and I've spoken to the AG's office in Trenton, and I've spoken to, I can't pronounce his name, the Senator Gothenburg and Weinberg, and I've really sort of pointed out that Hackensack should be an example for all police departments in the way they enforce handicap parking. I mean,
Right.
to think that 1 in 13 drivers in the state of New Jersey has handicap parking privileges is absurd. And, you know, there's no enforcement at all in other places. They say, oh, that as long as, I had one police officer in Maywood who said, well, as long as it's blue, it's okay. And the paper's 4 years old, and I can tell from the title that never happens in Hackensack, and my hat's really, really off too.
All right, we're going to take that into consideration when we are going to discuss it. And I don't disagree with what you're talking about, and I personally would not appreciate it if I had to fend for a spot if I was a handicapped person. So it's something we will definitely address. That would be the city manager's task. We'll find out when the
I'm
ordinance
gonna
was
break out
passed.
your name and information so I can reach you.
And thank you very much for your nice comments about the police department, and we'll pass it on to traffic as well. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the next meeting at 8 o'clock. That's the real council meeting. This is the council of the whole.
Next meeting, for the record,
Yep.
reiterating my pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
and job that Hackensack Police Traffic
Any-
Division is doing.
Anybody else from the public?
Salvatore Moretti, I was formerly from 390 Park Street, Hackensack, for several decades. Please use the microphone. And as I mentioned to the people at the cultural center when I went there, I was interested in what programs they had ongoing, and they stated that they didn't have anything at that time. I haven't noticed anything subsequent in the last 3 or 4 years. What has come up of late, which may have some bearing on this, is the fact that the New Jersey Assembly has passed a number of laws relating to social development, education, cultural events, and so forth. And I don't find that the judicial system is responsive to that. One in particular perhaps may have pertinent application to the matter of Jesus Lopez, who was in care apparently of various social providers, and a death occurred in Aramis. Another issue of some relationship is the fact that the Maple Grove Park Cemetery has adopted the graves at Snake Hill Asylum, which was a 55-building Hudson County reservoir of human care. Consisted of a prison, a mental institution, various tuberculosis systems, and so forth. And there also is recently a movie that's come out entitled Eloise. If you recall, that's the old Henry Ford peace ship, which went over before World War I in order to put asunder the vying contenders. And the Eloise was apparently a mental institution of sorts, which was part of a feature film. I think it would be interesting to get some professionals to give input in these matters, which are perhaps problematic for individuals not so versed.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, motion to close.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay, Mr. Kleiman?
We need to go, sorry. We're going to go into closed session certainly on litigation, Heck versus Hackensack. There may be some other cases depending on time, and if that's the case, I'll clarify after the closed session.
Okay, very good, thank
Need a
you.
motion?
Need a motion to go into closed session?
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia. Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to discuss certain actions under section 7B7 and 7B8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, which pertain to matters falling within attorney-client privilege, ongoing litigation, and personnel matters concerning the employment of a current or prospective public employee. Whereas the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack is of the opinion that such circumstances may presently exist. And whereas the mayor and council wishes to discuss the following issues: personnel matters, ongoing litigation, which would include Heck versus the city of Hackensack, matters involving attorney-client privilege, matters involving the purchase, lease, or acquisition of real property, and any pending and anticipated litigation or contract negotiations. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the city of Hackensack deem it necessary to exclude the public from this discussion. The outcome of the discussion will be disclosed within 90 days or at such time as the interests of the city do not require confidentiality.
Okay, thank you. We will be back right around 8 o'clock, hopefully.